what the Church of Scientology is so afraid of.
This is SPTV.
Welcome back, everybody, for a bit more SPTV. I'm joined today by Apostate Alex. How's it going, man?
Hi. Yeah, good. Thanks, man. How are you doing?
Good. So we had a bit of an idea.
Florida.
It is good to be back in Florida. Honestly, the weather's much better in California. It did make me question my life choices that led me to be living in Florida. But for comfort level, it's good to be back in Florida, sleeping in my own bed. So we had an idea for a video, and let's start out by showing people a spreadsheet that I put together back in the day. Let's get over to the right-hand side. So I put a spreadsheet together showing how you could extremely charitably estimate the number of Scientologists in the world, including public Scientologists, staff members, Sea Org members. And these numbers are so charitable. This is like if L. Ron Hubbard himself reincarnated and came back tomorrow and announced, and Scientology announced that they were doing an event to announce the return of L. Ron Hubbard and to announce the release of OT 9 and 10, you could probably scrape up 35,000 people all around the world to attend that event. So charitable numbers, right? And charitably, I arrived at 5,225 Sea Org members. Now, in Scientology's own propaganda that they put out, which is usually off by orders of magnitude, they essentially said they had 6,800 Sea Org members. That was just like a month ago they said that.
You know, something that I found really funny actually is that stat. You know, that was from like a poster or something, some promo they did, right, where it said total population of planet Earth, number of Sea Org members per person on Earth. I did some digging after I saw that. I don't have it with me right now, but they did the same piece of promo a couple of years earlier, and the only number that had changed is the planet Earth population. So that had gone up, but the number of Sea Org per like that hadn't changed. If it's
You've got to send that.
Blog.
Oh, you've got to send that to me.
It's hilarious.
You've got to send that to me. So even their own propaganda numbers did not show any increase in the number of Sea Org members over what period of time are we talking?
I can't remember. It's like a couple of years or something.
So just a couple of years, but that's fine because Miscavige has been telling the Scientologists that they're growing by like 15x, 20x, 60x, you know, since the Golden Age of Tech 2 came out. He even tried to tell them that more people came into Scientology during the COVID lockdown period than at any point in Scientology's history. Meanwhile, most of the orgs were closed during that time. Like, it's totally insane.
So I've just got it here. It's not a couple of years, it's 1 year. So the one from February 2022, world population is 7.8 billion. And then, yeah, the stats just work out that they haven't grown at all. But the population has. That's
right. Now, of course, they're just making up the number of Sea Org members. So it doesn't occur to them the number should change because it's just a fake. It's just a fake number. Okay, but so you mentioned to me the idea for the video was that you had some closer to real time statistics for the London org, and I said, you know what? If you've got some statistics for the London org, we should compare those numbers to this spreadsheet, because this spreadsheet that I put together, these are just averages. There's certain orgs in the world that should be the biggest orgs in the world. London is one of the biggest cities in the world. The London org is pretty at this point the only Scientology organization in London, right?
Only in London. There's only one other in the UK ideal org, which is Birmingham, and then there's St. Hill, and that's it. There are lots of smaller missions and orgs, but
what about like Plymouth?
So they're not ideal. They're just really small orgs, almost like mission size, if not smaller. When I was on staff at London org, London was the only ideal org at the time in the UK.
Wow. So I mean, the other orgs are orgs. You're just saying they don't have their big new buildings.
Yeah, like they're orgs, but they're like more like the size of missions, like a handful of staff.
Right. I mean, most orgs have a handful of staff.
That's true.
but so let's see here. If let's go down to my my estimates of class 5 staff. Now, guys, I don't want to assume everyone already knows what we're talking about. So in Scientology, one of the ways you divide up the categories of orgs is you have a class 5 org that delivers essentially the bottom non-confidential half of Scientology's bridge to total freedom. Class 5 org refers to the fact that they can train class 5 graduate auditors, and they can audit people up to Scientology's state of clear, which can sometimes be referred to as roughly grade 5. It's technically it's grade 6, but still. Okay. So if you class 5 orgs is where people are allowed to get into Scientology. The higher level organizations, you're actually not allowed to join Scientology there. So if you live in a city that has a Church of Scientology and you see them out selling books or you see them out handing out promo, chances are that is a class 5 org. It might be a mission, but a mission is so small, it usually doesn't even have its own building. It's usually like a storefront in a strip mall or something. So if you have in your city, if you have a Scientology organization and it has its own standalone building, you're looking at a class 5 organization. So I said average 35 staff members per org. What was the number you had for London?
Yeah, so the most, I've got more up-to-date stats since I left. I have a contact who has been in touch with the org more recently than me, so I don't want to be too specific and give them away and too like dates and stuff, but within the last 2 years, let's say, they confirmed that the total number of staff was about 25 on London Day.
On London Day. Okay, so let's tell everyone the difference between London Day and London Foundation.
So Scientology orgs are split into two. They kind of run as two separate organizations in the same building. So Day is Monday to Friday, 9 till 6, and Foundation is the evenings and weekends. So as a public, you can go into the org from 9 in the morning till 10 in the evening, 7 days a week. But there's two sets of staff that run it, and they completely run as separate organizations, even though they're the same building.
Yeah. It's really weird. Well, it's not just weird that Scientology is structured that way. It's weird that it's not even consistent. Some orgs are split up into this day shift, night shift, and other orgs aren't. Like I'm from originally I was mostly from the Philadelphia Scientology organization. There was no day and foundation org. There was just one org with one executive director. Some staff showed up during the day shift. Some staff showed up during the night shift. Some staff only showed up on the weekend shift. But Scientology doesn't count Philadelphia as two separate organizations. And yet for London, Scientology does actually count them as if they are two different churches of Scientology.
The last I heard, it's actually counted as 3 because you have Day, Foundation, and Celebrity Center, which merged. Now, that's still run, last I heard, as a separate org, just like Day and Foundation within the same building. So it has its own ED, but they only have, 3 or 4 staff or something like that. So actually there's 3 separate churches running from the same building.
So they actually rolled the Celebrity Center into the London org, but pretends like it still exists. Actually, we've got to go back to this because you'll notice that I say right here, it says 200 orgs right there, right? That's what I recall from the birthday game standings. That would include double counting and, in the case of London, triple counting. In reality, there's only about 100 to 150 brick and mortar churches of Scientology in the entire freaking world. And would you agree with me that when you have one of these orgs, the day shift, the foundation shift, the day shift is always bigger than the foundation shift?
100%. And it's meant to be the other way around. The foundation is meant to be the one that brings in the money because that's when people go and study when they finish work and in their spare time on the evenings and weekends. That's meant to be the big org. But actually, in reality, the day org is way bigger than the foundation.
Right. And so I'm going to go back to this view again. So I'm averaging 35 staff for every org in the world. London being one of the biggest cities in the world, being essentially only one Scientology organization in London, they should have 100 staff. And yet their staff is lower. Like out of all the orgs in the world, you'd have the ones that are way above average and the ones that are below average. London's supposed to be the one that's like way above average by a factor of at least 3. And they're actually lower than the averages that I'm using. That's what made me excited about doing this video. Because not only was I generous, but even with my generous estimates, London should be way above that. And they're in fact below it.
Yeah. And there was a period of growth after I left, between 2015 to 2018 or 19, there was a time when London was huge and there was probably more like 100 staff, but since then it's dramatically decreased. I would estimate, based on the information I have, that the total number of staff for Day, Foundation, and CC combined would be 50. I think would be a generous estimate for all 3 combined.
Wow. Okay, let me see if I can pull up these photos that we had earlier.
Before we jump onto that, this might be interesting to you. I recently found, so the Church of Scientology in the UK operates through an Australian-based corporation charity called the Church of Scientology Religious Education College Incorporated. They're registered in Australia as through some sort of tax loophole, but that business only operates here in the UK. As part of the Australian Charities Commission setup, they have to report quite a lot of statistics, including income and how it's spent exactly on what and so on. And one of the things they have to report is total number of volunteers. Now, this is for the whole of the UK. So this will be St. Hill, it'll be London, Birmingham, Manchester, and all of the smaller orgs that you mentioned, like Plymouth and Sunderland. So they are all operating under COSRECI, this charity. And the most recent filing estimates the total number of volunteers in the UK is 700. Now, that includes all of the Sea Org members at St. Hill as well, don't forget.
Wow. I wonder, I couldn't do it here live because I would have to take the time to actually kind of itemize every Scientology organization in the UK, of which there might be 6, 7, 8, depending on not missions, like but orgs.
Yeah, so Sunderland, Plymouth, Poole, yeah.
And I wonder if my estimate for how many staff in Sea Org in the UK would actually be even higher than what they report.
700 also is going to be an estimate and an overestimation. That number hasn't changed in their filings with the Australian Charities Committee for about 5 years. It's been 700 since then. So that's likely an inflated figure too. Interesting.
Oh, hey, let's take a moment to promote this real quick. Goldie says, in addition to Apostate Alex's pledge, numerous others have matched him so that so far a total of $1,600 will be donated to the Aftermath Foundation if he gets to 5,000 subscribers before the end of May. Tell everybody what this is about here.
Yeah, so May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and what I wanted to do is play a little game, as we like to do in Scientology, and grow not just my channel, but the whole of SPCV. And I think the more people speaking out, the better. And the way the algorithm works, the more subscribers and comments and likes a video has, the more people see it. So the idea is that if we all grow our subscriber base, more people will see the videos, and therefore potentially more people can be helped. So I pledged at the beginning of the month, if I hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of May, I'll donate $100 to the Aftermath Foundation. And I totally didn't expect this, but several viewers have agreed to match that pledge over the last couple of weeks. So now if I hit it, it's actually gone up to 1,800 since Goldie and I last spoke. So if I'm only about 90 subscribers away, so if I hit that today, we'll be raising £1,800 to the Aftermath Foundation.
So you need 90 more subscribers?
90 more subs by the end of May.
Well, we've got 1,600 people watching right now. If 90 of them go over and subscribe to Apostate Alex, we'll have $1,800 donated to the Aftermath Foundation. So there you go. That's Absolutely. Pretty awesome. I'm seeing a couple of comments here that I just want to throw up because I think they're interesting. Who's the biggest Scientology celebrity in the UK? Somebody speculated possibly Neil Gaiman, although it's not clear that he's still in. His parents were at St. Hill when LRH was there. His parents were much more than just at St. Hill. I mean, Neil's parents were in the Guardian's office. I think his father was the L. Ron Hubbard personal public relations officer for the United Kingdom, I'm pretty sure. Does any other names come to mind who might be the biggest Scientology celebrity in the UK?
Tom Cruise's daughter, Isabella Cruz. She was a public at London. They publicized the Jive Aces as this huge band that are really famous, but they're not. They're actually Sea Org members. The Jive Aces are Sea Org members.
They've been Sea Org members since like 1998.
Yeah, and the only other thing that's a kind of claim to fame, I would say, is Matt Willis, who is a member of the band Busted, who I don't know if they're very big in the US, but they were huge here in the UK in the early noughties. He went through drug rehab and so on, and he, at that time, was lured in, it wasn't Narconon, but he was lured into Scientology and started doing a couple of courses, and he was sucked in, and then he left, and he's spoken out about it because he said there was a point after, I think he was only in for a month or two, but he was full-time studying at that time. He said that they were trying to pull his wife, Emma Willis, away from him and say that she was an SP, basically. So he walked away, and he's told that story publicly in the news. But yeah, other than that, there's not really many UK Scientologist celebrities.
All right. Daniel Perry says, I used to be part of the Bournemouth mission. Mm-hmm. What's the right way to pronounce that word? Is it Bournemouth or Bournemouth?
Bournemouth, yeah.
Bournemouth.
Mission was actually huge. Bournemouth and Poole, it was huge back in the 90s. And I've had a number of former staff members from there reach out to me recently. It's now nowhere near as big as it was. But yeah, Daniel, if you want to get in touch, feel free. I'm hello@apostatealex.com. I'd love to hear your story.
Check this out. OMG, Birmingham's Ideal Org. Is Birmingham's Ideal Org on the border of Kings Heath and Moseley on Moorcroft? If so, I'll pass it regularly. Scientology saved that building. It nearly fell into disrepair.
Yes, it is. That is correct. That is where the Ideal Org is. There's a couple of stories like this in the UK at the moment. Manchester and Sunderland are the big ones. They bought buildings 15 years ago to renovate them as part of their Ideal Org program, and they have just sat there vacant and falling down. The most notable Manchester org, they have this huge, it used to be an old distillery, it's a beautiful building, and it got to the point where the local council, this was maybe just before the big thing that happened we can't mention on YouTube, where we all had to stay at home. You know, the word that censors us. We always had to stay at home because of the thing that happened worldwide.
Oh,
right?
COVID. We're good.
Okay, I thought I didn't think we could say that word, but before that happened, basically the local council.
I was like, are you talking about 9/11? Like, what
No, I didn't know we could say COVID, so I was trying to avoid that word. But yeah, before that happened, because it stood vacant for so long, the local council were getting really annoyed and putting pressure on the Church of Scientology to actually begin the renovations, and they were very, very close to compulsory purchasing the building back off the church. And they said, if you do not start your renovations in the next year and complete them within 2 years, I think it was, we will forcibly buy the building back off you because we want it to be renovated. And that should have been completed in the same year COVID happened. So I believe it's now been pushed back, but it's still sat there, crumbling building. Same in Sunderland, and local people are not happy about it.
Interesting. Sarah Cooper, disappointed to hear Manchester has a Church of Scientology. Indeed. Yeah. Silver Serpent. Whoa, I've got a buddy in Birmingham. Wonder if he's aware of Scientology there. Yeah. And look, all these awesome questions. Was what class org is the Philadelphia org on Ray Street? Yeah, that's a class 5 org. Any organization, the only organizations that are higher than class 5 are the ones that are staffed exclusively by Sea Org members and deliver a special class 6 auditor course called the St. Hill Special Briefing Course, or they deliver the OT levels. Any org that is staffed by people, well, I can't even say normal clothes anymore because they all wear the silly uniforms. But a simple answer, Philadelphia was a class 5 org.
Breaking news, guys. I just hit 5,000 subscribers. So thank you for the shout out. Nice. And thank you, everyone. Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, if everyone who's pledged keeps their promise, there'll be $1,800 or dollars going to the Aftermath Foundation in the coming days. So that's awesome. Thank you, everyone, for your support.
That's awesome. And in addition to supporting the foundation by subscribing to Alex's channel, if you guys want some sick SP merch, 100% of the proceeds from the SP shop go to the Aftermath Foundation. And we used to have the SP shop was like a dedicated website, but now we have a fourth wall merch store for the SP shop that's now live. So get your super sick SP merch over there. All right, so let's see. There was this other thing that we wanted to look at here, and let me figure out the best way to share it. Present, share screen. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I think we can do it this way. Scientology. Let's get to the right one. Scientology published a photograph of every single staff member who's currently on a special training program in Clearwater, Florida. These are the new command teams that are going to fire out to every Scientology organization in the world. And this is all it was. Scientology thinks these photos look amazing. They're like, oh my God, we packed the whole floor. And you're like, you guys claim to have like 5,000 Scientology groups and organizations. You're training command teams for every org in the entire world, and this is all you've got. Now, the reason we wanted to highlight this, I had tweeted, I put this up on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, and I said, guys, every org in the world is supposed to have a command team, not less than 7 people. Every org in the entire world is supposed to have their own command team. This photo is actually evidence of the true small size of Scientology in the world. Now, you went through this photo and said, hey, I found all the guys from London.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So this is great.
there might be some in there that are London staff that joined after I left, so that, you know, this isn't by all means everybody that works at London, because I don't know everyone that's joined since I left. But I circled the people who I recognised from my time on staff. Most of them were staff members back then. There's one or two people in there that were public when I was on staff, but obviously they're now staff there as well.
Okay, here, let me try to get a better fit here. Okay, like you said, this isn't these aren't all the staff members from London. These are just all the ones that you know, that you recognize.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling to get a good position for us here. Let's try this for right now. Okay, so let's see what we're dealing with here. Maria Bennett, Director of Testing and Registration. Okay. Now, this is what their posts were when you were in London. We really have no idea what their posts are supposed to, because I'll tell you, when these guys go back, they're supposed to be the ones running the org. They're supposed to be the executive council, the ad council, ED, DED, HES, OES, PES, God knows what else.
So some of these are the posts from I remember being on staff, and some of them have been confirmed as their current post. So Maria Testing and Reg has been confirmed. It's actually on her public Facebook page. That's her current post in Scientology, as per her Facebook.
Okay. And then Leah Chalmers, the Div 6 supervisor. I mean, they're not sending a Div 6 supervisor for OEC FEBC training.
She's likely not that now. She was Div 6 suit when I was there. Okay. Her mum, Susan, was the PES, the PES, when I first joined. It's likely she's got a higher position now. Craig Milton, ED, Executive Director London. That is his current post. He was in a different post when I was there. And Lawrence was the tech sec when I was there. I don't know what his current post is. I'd imagine it's something similar or the same.
Okay. And so these other faces that you've circled, you just recognize them. You just didn't know their posts or whatever.
Yeah. Or people who are on Foundation, for example. The majority of the ones circled I haven't named were on the Foundation also. I didn't really know them that well.
Interesting. There was another piece of information you had from your time in London. Let's explain to everybody what we're looking at right here.
Sure. So in Scientology, stats are really important. As a staff member, that is basically how you're judged as your performance. Every staff member has at least one stat that they are basically judged on each week. So my stat was NBS Raw, which is number of book sales sold, number of books sold to raw public. So by raw public, it means someone who hasn't already bought a book or done any servicing. There's a separate stat for books sold to current members. You know, if someone's on a course and they need to buy a book, that's a different stat. So this is a year of books sold every week in the London org, showing you how many books are sold to raw public.
Interesting. So look, I'm trying to peek in close at the numbers here. This is rough. This is 2012 to 2013.
Yeah.
And we were talking offline, and I was saying something to you that really hadn't even occurred to me before. Normally, when you sell books, it's like you're promoting them. People are buying them from a website. They're walking into your store and buying them. Scientology has the most aggressive, expensive method for selling books possible. These numbers that you see here, and we're talking, there's weeks where they only sold 20 books. There's weeks where it was 40 books. There's weeks where, I don't know, is that 140 books?
Yeah.
But in order to sell books, it's not people walking into the org and saying, hello, I'd like to see your selection, good sir. I think I'll take one of Dianetics. They're sending teams of people, like, I don't know, a dozen? Would a dozen people go out at a time?
On a big, busy week during a bookathon, yeah. Most of the time, it would be 3 or 4 of us.
You're going out with tables. You're going out with books. You're going out with chairs. You're going out with e-meters. You're setting up. You're doing stress tests. You're doing a little e-meter pinch test, which is the stress test. You are having a little interview. You are going through all this trouble to sell them, what, a $7 book, an $8 book? How many pounds are these Dianetics books selling for?
At my time, it was 12 pounds.
12 pounds. Lord knows what that is in US dollars. I grew up in a cult.
13 pounds. It'd be about $15.
$15. And again, you have one of what is supposed to be one of Scientology's biggest organizations in one of the biggest cities in the world. And they're selling 20 books a week, 40 books a week. And that's not 20 Dianetics books. That's 20 anything books.
You know what's hilarious is it's number of books sold, any book sold to a raw public. So if someone who has bought Dianetics once then wants to buy the rest of the books package, right, that doesn't count as MBS raw. So we wanted to get people to buy as many books as possible in their first encounter with Scientology. If someone bought Dianetics and the Dianetics DVD, the DVD counted as a book. So that was 2 book sales from this one person. If we were really sort of pushing and we worried about our stats, there are these things in Scientology called the VM booklets, volunteer minister booklets, which I think Mark and Claire mentioned on a stream before. They're from the Scientology handbook, and it's just like these little booklets, like almost like a flyer, like leaflet type brochure type thing, just with like a small section of the What is Scientology handbook. And I think they're about £3 or something, but it's not really a book, right? It's a brochure kind of.
Right.
That counted as a book sale. So if I had a friend or someone and I needed to get 10 book sales before Thursday at 2, I would get, I could get someone to buy 5 VM booklets, which would be like, £15 or something. And that counts as 5 books sold. Whereas if you sell 1 Dianetics, it will be the same price, but it's only 1 book sold. So we weren't supposed to do it, but we did on weeks when we didn't have any stats or whatever.
Naughty. Okay, so in an entire year, the most number of books that the London organization, London Day, could sell in a week was 166. I think Mark Headley has sold more books than that in a week, just from his YouTube channel.
there is a time I remember selling 200 books after this stat during a really big bookathon. Something that's quite telling. I have this commendation from my time on staff.
Oh, wait. I want to see. Show that good stuff. Come on.
So this is a commendation. And so I won't read the whole thing, but it basically has the list of some people that worked at the org. Said the above staff are highly commended for their hard work and dedication on the front lines of 6A. So Division 6A is the public-facing division of Scientology that sells books and so on. 2 weeks ago, they hit 74 NBS Raw in a week, which was a big affluence. But even better than this is that you have got the MBS Raw into a new range. At the start of the year, we were averaging 20 to 30 Raw books sold, and now we're pretty much over the 50 mark.
And what year? What year was that?
This is 10th of October, 2013.
Oh, wait. What? You were there in 2013, 10 years ago? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was on staff 2011 till 2014.
Okay.
What you're doing is absolutely vital for the org and future of Scientology. I know what it takes to be really out there on the front lines disseminating, and you 3 have bundles of it. Well done and keep it up. Let's get to our next target, 100 books sold a week.
Go get them. The planet will be cleared in no time.
What's hilarious is this commendation saying what I'm doing is vital for Scientology and I'm the best person ever and all of this. So that was written only a couple of months before they declared me a potential trouble source, and everyone in the org was told I'm bad news, I'm trouble, and I've never been any good, and we didn't need you anyway.
Incredible. All right, let's tackle some super chats and see what's going on here. Sarah Woodrow with a super sticker. Kelly O'Hara. Aaron, where are you? Where is Aaron right now? Were we a few minutes late starting? That must have been what that's from.
Yeah, sorry, we're a couple minutes late.
Elizabeth Roberts, what on earth will take over? Take over what? I'm not sure. Clearwater Chad tells the PI jokes in his latest video. Very nice. Clearwater Chad does it again. Maybe that's the same comment on both of our channels. Jerry Hack, Aaron, I'll be in the Tampa area around October 24th. Would be cool to meet you and get a pic. However, most important of all, I need to pet Goliath. Is he a people person? Oh, Goliath is very much a people person. He's never met a person he did not like. Very pettable. So yeah, shoot me a message, Jerry, when you're in town. Growing up in Scientology @gmail.com. Let's see, what's this? Lance Whitaker. Hey, Aaron, why won't the person emailing me to go to the local org tell me how many members are in my area without getting on a phone call with her to explain? Yeah, I know that when I was on staff, if someone asked me for numbers like that, even though there's no specific rules saying you're not allowed to discuss them, I definitely would be like, I don't think I can say. It would have just been like sort of a feeling of, oh, I don't think we're allowed to say something like
I would
that.
just say, I don't know, I've never counted.
Yeah, there you go. Karen McCourt, just because I love your laugh, Aaron. Well, thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. Dave Bowen, isn't there still a furnished castle or something in the UK, still owned by Scientology, waiting for L. Ron Hubbard's return?
So not exactly waiting for LRH's return, but yeah, so Saint Hill Manor, which is where I used to live and run Scientology from, is still very much the headquarters of Scientology here in the UK. They built a castle to expand the org and give them more room and space to deliver Scientology. The reason they did this, well, this is what we were told when I visited anyway, was in the 60s when he was moving to Saint Hill and wanting to expand, the council denied him planning permission to build an extension. They didn't want him doing it, and he found some antiquated law or rule or something that said a man can build a castle on his own land. You have a right to build a castle, something like that. And so that's why it's a castle, because you didn't have to have planning permission for it. Don't know whether that's true. That's just a story that they tell you when you go to Saint Hill, but it's very much still there for sure.
It's a great story. And just like what we said before, that you have the class 5 organizations and then class 6 organizations and then class 9 organizations. The castle is a class 6 organization. Wait, I take it back. It's a class 9. It's an advanced organization and a Saint Hill. Yeah. So yeah, and it's staffed exclusively by Sea Org members who have signed billion-year contracts and all that stuff. So that's, and also on that same premises is the Continental Liaison Office, the Continental Management Office for Scientology, which is also purely staffed by Sea Org members. So there we go. Astrid Vissers, I'm new here. I have no idea what Scientology is. They are bad, I know, but otherwise, I have no idea. Well, Astrid, stick around. Watch some other videos. Watch Going Clear. Watch Scientology in the Aftermath. Read Barefaced Messiah, in addition to a whole bunch of other books that are out there. But yeah, you've come to the right channel, Astrid. Thank you very much. Let's see. Sean Mullins says, hey, Aaron, did you see the BBC article about the Church of Scientology derelict building in Sunderland, UK? Never a Scientologist, but love your channel. That's what you were mentioning before, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I meant to do a video about that, but my list of things to do videos on, just items just fall down the list. I have
such a long list, and every time I think I'm going to do one on that, like from my list, I then come up with another idea, and my list just gets longer every day.
Steven or Stefan? How would you say this one?
Steven.
I would say Steven. Hi, both. Got an org of the crazies near me at Sunderland. Nice to see Scientology is falling apart here too. Newcastle, UK. Fantastic. Fat Cat's Heaven. Alex, are you in comm with a UK current insider?
I don't want to give away too much about who I'm in contact with, but let's say, yeah, I'm in touch with people who are currently or have recently been involved in the church here in the UK. Yes.
Was it that lady Barbara you were telling me about? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I don't know anyone named Barbara. All right. Shelly Cosper, super sticker. Thank you very much. Sophia Cotter. I visited the London Dianetic Center last week. Damn. How did that go? I'm curious to know how that went.
I'm guessing you mean the Tottenham Court Road Test Centre by that, I'm guessing. Yeah, it'd be really interesting to know, because when I was there, it was only used as a book sales channel. There were like 2 or 3 staff there at any one time. After I left, it was expanded and they opened up the course rooms upstairs, and there was a whole team of staff there delivering courses. And I am under the impression it has since shrunk again to just having a handful of staff, and they're not delivering courses there. They're just selling books. So I'd be interested to know, Sophia, what your experience was. Are they doing courses there still? How many staff were there? Let me know.
Yeah, get in touch with Alex. Let him know. Rachel Laurie. G'day from Ballarat, Australia. Catching my first live. Love your work, Aaron. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Rachel. Glad you can make the live. Thank you for the super chat. I've got no idea where Ballarat is. I gotta look that up, but that's awesome. Thanks for joining us. Julia Bittencourt, 5K. You hit 5K. That's fantastic. So cool.
Thank you, everyone.
Decultified says best-selling author Roger J. Ellery was on staff at Birmingham for about 20 years and is on OT7. Does that name ring a bell to you, Alex?
It does not.
So anyone can be a best-selling author, honestly. I mean, I'm not one, but it doesn't, like, best-selling author is not the same thing as famous author. You know what I'm saying?
And also, we have no context of how long ago this was. This could have been in the 60s or 70s or whatever.
Does that mean it wouldn't count?
No, I mean, like, it doesn't give us any indication of how Scientology is doing right now in Birmingham.
True. Very true. Lafayette Schnitzelberg. Oh my God, I love that name. A Dusseldorf OT6, Sally Bennick, is promoting Scientology on TikTok. It seems desperate, so cringeworthy. Could it be authorized? Her mom is Dusseldorf org VP. What's it? There's no VP in. What is it? What would that mean? I don't know. VP is not a post. Do they? Yeah, that's okay. So we don't know what VP means here. I mean, Scientology orgs don't have vice presidents or anything like that.
Maybe he ran out of characters in the super chat and it's the DED, but he didn't have enough characters left. I don't know.
So I do not personally believe. So like, if it's just a Scientology public, I don't believe that any of these people doing that actually ask for permission. I don't think Scientology ever asks any of these people to do it. It never really goes well. Scientology and the internet do not mix. Yeah. I don't think it's authorized. I don't think it's authorized. What's your take on it?
It's probably, you know, I felt this when I was a public of kind of seeing what OSA is saying and doing to promote Scientology and there being black PR. And as a gung-ho Scientologist, it's kind of like, I want to speak out. I shouldn't be ashamed to be a Scientologist. I want to, you know, why shouldn't I speak on social media about my experience? I think it's probably come from that place of just wanting to promote their religion. They probably just don't want to, they don't feel like they should have to ask for permission to do that, right?
Yeah. The problem is that anytime a Scientologist gets on social media and tries to promote Scientology, they become inundated with links to Xenu and the Body Thetans and, links to our SPTV videos. So it just opens them up from Scientology's perspective to all of the N theta that exists on the internet. And so it's just never a good idea. That's why I'm saying Scientologists are not encouraging. Scientology is not encouraging Scientologists to spread the word on social media. All right. So Andreas Leonhard, do you know how big Scientology is in Scandinavia? I've seen the building in Copenhagen, but I've never seen any activity outside the building or run into any Scientologists. You know, what's crazy about you not seeing any of them in Copenhagen is actually the European headquarters for Scientology. Copenhagen, we mentioned before that the castle in the UK is a Class 9 organization. Copenhagen is also a Class 9 organization. And it's the home of the Continental Management Office for Scientology in all of Europe. And you still aren't seeing anybody around the premises.
You also have in Scientology in the US, they have a big building called Bridge Publications that prints all of the promo materials, all of the books, all the materials. In Europe, there's something called New Era Publications that do exactly the same thing. It's a massive warehouse where they print and produce all of the stuff for the whole of the UK and Europe. And I believe the rest of the world. I think the Bridge just does the US. But yeah, it's a huge part of Scientology, and it's not busy.
So Andreas, I would also answer the question by saying, if you go back to the spreadsheet that we were looking at in the beginning, those averages hold true for the Scientology organizations in Europe and all over the world. So remind me, Alex, because I forget, is there actually a Class 5 org in Copenhagen?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But also Scandinavia, and someone corrected me on this last time. I think of Scandinavia as being Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark. Somebody corrected me that one of those countries was actually not Scandinavia. But if we go, you're kind of sort of European. How would you define Scandinavia?
Yeah, I would say Sweden, Norway, Finland, Denmark. That's
you would?
Yeah.
Oh, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in Norway, there's an org in Malmo. There's an org. What are the other cities in Sweden? There's 2 or 3 orgs in Sweden.
Is there one in Gothenburg?
Yeah, I call it Göteborg.
Göteborg.
Malmo. What's another big city in Sweden?
My geography is not my strong point.
Oh man, that's okay. There's not more than 3 orgs in Sweden. In
Stockholm.
There's definitely an org in Stockholm. So I think there's 3 orgs in Sweden. In Finland, I don't know what's a big city in Finland.
Helsinki. I don't even know if there's an org there.
There's not. Okay, so Norway. What's a big city in Norway?
Oslo.
There is an org in Oslo.
Bergen.
There's no org in Bergen.
There.
So
I think there's Oslo, there's Stockholm, Malmo. I don't think there's one in Helsinki. There's Denmark. But yeah. And
Copenhagen. So there you go. So that's maybe 5, 6 orgs in Scandinavia, and they're small. They're very, very small. All right. Next, Samantha. Hi, Aaron. There's a mission in Edinburgh. It looks like a little shop and is always empty. Not sure if there's any others in Scotland. Love SPTV. I could have sworn that the Edinburgh was an actual org.
It is. It's actually run separately to the rest of the UK. It's run through something called Happy, HAPI. It's kind of it was set up in, I think it was a weird thing. It's an old org that's run separately, but Edinburgh, I believe, is the only Scottish Scientology org.
Very interesting. Jay Dice has a good question here. Was everyone in that photo told to look unfriendly and cross their arms for the picture? Yes. Scientology, David Miscavige doesn't want staff members to be friendly. He wants them to look badass. And they call it in Scientology ethics presence, altitude. You might call it being menacing. The goal isn't to look friendly and welcoming and inviting. The goal is to look like we're badasses. We're kicking the world's butt. We're getting shit done. We take no shit from anybody. We're the most valuable beings on the planet. And look at our cute little smocks. And if you see us in a store, you'll mistake us for a Walmart employee. Like, I don't know why Miscavige doesn't realize the staff members look ridiculous. He must know that.
They did the revamp of the uniform too. When I was on staff, the uniform was a black suit, white shirt, and a red tie, a very specific red tie.
I remember that
uniform. And they since revamped it, and now they've got these waistcoats, and it's like a blue with a gold rim. It does look, nicer than it was.
Everyone looks like they are a valet. And that's
in this picture, yes.
And that's fine. I just don't know why you want your entire international staff to look like that. Like, why not just have a suit? Have a professional looking suit. What the hell's wrong with that? It's ridiculous. He wants them to play dress up. It doesn't make any sense. Case Ventura says, finally caught alive. Welcome back, AA Run. Well, thank you so much, Case Ventura. It's good to be back. Love Sherlock. Congratulations, Alex. Such a nice idea you had, Gail. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Linda P. Golan. So proud of you, Alex. On to 10,000. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, let's 10x it, right?
Sophia Cotter. I will email you. I'm scared they read the chat. Oh, was that from earlier?
I guess so. Yeah. Email me. hello@apostatealex.com.
Nice. Jerry Hack, my wife wants to hire you just to speak to her. She's born in Essex, loves your accent. She lost hers. Do you have an Essex accent?
I was actually born and raised in Essex, but no, I don't have a typical Essex accent, no.
Well, would you know if you did, or like?
yeah, it's a very identifiable accent, yes. And no, I don't have an Essex.
Did you intentionally lose it? What's going on here?
I don't actually know why. Because my parents aren't from Essex, so they don't have accents. So we just lived in Essex. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right. Case Ventura is back for more. Hey, Aaron, ideal org here in Switzerland. Super empty. I forgot about Switzerland. There's one in Zurich, right? We have to catch up soon. Let's go. SPTV. I will be merged up soon. Well, yes, Copenhagen is still empty of public. What's another major city in Switzerland? Let's see. Switzerland cities. Zurich. Yeah. I don't remember there being an organ. Oh, was there one in Geneva? Oh, I totally forget. I know there's one in Zurich for sure. If there's one or two others, I feel like I'd know if there was more than one org in Switzerland. Basel really rings a bell though. All right. Anyway, I don't know. Moving on. Dave Bowen, was Tina Turner ever in Scientology? Asking because she passed away today at 83. Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge
either, but obviously very sad news.
Yeah. Okay. Foxglove says empty ideal org in Plymouth 2. Census equals 13 Scientologists. Absolutely incredible.
So Plymouth is another one of those. It's not ideal yet, but they've purchased the building. It's been sat there for over a decade, empty, ready to renovate to become ideal. Yeah.
And, some people might wonder, like, if there's an organization that actually has 13 Scientologists or 13 staff members, wouldn't Scientology just close it down? And the answer is no. Miscavige's power depends upon Scientologists believing that he is expanding Scientology. Scientologists, because they don't believe in like a God or a heaven or divinity, they don't believe that like Miscavige's authority doesn't come from a higher power. It comes from his ability to expand Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard says the only measure of any executive is whether they can keep stats going up. It is strictly against policy to close down a Scientology organization, no matter how small it becomes. And that's why it's so crazy that Miscavige did, despite that policy, actually close down some orgs. But that's why he didn't really close them down. So like when Alex said earlier that he took the Celebrity Center London and combined it with the London org, but pretends like it still exists, that's his way of getting around the fact that the policy forbids him from closing an org. It's like, we didn't close the org. We just combined them. You closed them.
Yeah, it's all about the facade as well, right? It's about making it appear, you know, if you say you've opened a new org, that must mean we're expanding. Opening a new org doesn't mean you have 1,000 new Scientologists. Like, it could be an org of one person, right? But just saying you've opened a new org makes it sound like it's bigger than it is.
Right.
Like when Celebrity Center merged with London, it was because Tom Cruise was in town to film Mission Impossible. And one of the things they did was, David Miscavige came to do a check to make sure it was all signed off and okay before Tom got there. They shipped off the not attractive, not upstat staff to the Tottenham Road Test Centre for the day, so that all Dave Miscavige saw was upstat, good-looking, committed Scientologists. And then they pumped the org with about 50 Sea Org members from St. Hill, and they stayed there for the duration of Tom Cruise's visit to London, just on the off chance he popped in to the org, so that it looked busy for him. And as soon as Tom Cruise went back to the States after finishing filming, all the Sea Org members went back to St. Hill, and it was empty once again. It's all about making it appear like it's busy and thriving to the people that they want to impress.
All right. So who was given the task of going through the org and saying only 8s and above? Seriously, who's like, you're too ugly. Get to the test center for the day. Tom Cruise is coming. He doesn't want to see your ugly face.
Yeah.
No, seriously, whose job was that?
I don't know. I wasn't there. It was after I joined.
Oh.
I will have to ask my contact. But I believe it was done through, like, your normal senior would kind of say, hey, go to the test center for the day and, you know, we'll do a project. And they set up like a project, you know, it's a book selling day at the test center, for example, and these people are going to come and help you. And it's all like, okay, great. And everyone kind of knew why they were there. Incredible.
PZ, do we know what happened to Charlie Wackley and his YouTube channel? Is it Wackley or Wakely? I always get it wrong. Wackley. Let's give the short version. What happened to Charlie Wackley and his YouTube channel?
Yeah, so I mean, we've done a video on this previously, so PZ, definitely go and check that out for the full story. Essentially, he stopped doing it. He was promoted to deputy executive director. So it's probably a combination of having, you know, a different job to being public facing, but also likely being told off or told not to do it anymore. He's just not doing it anymore, but he is very much still a staff member there. He actually blocked me on Facebook yesterday. I still had him as a friend right up until yesterday. So that just shows how long it takes Scientology to get around to watching these things and knowing what people are doing, because, you know, I started my channel in February and it's now May, and it's only now that Charlie unfriended me.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Gramish says libraries in the Midwest USA are instructed to discard books sent by Bridge Publications. Do you know if libraries in the UK do the same? Are any of them fooled?
I don't know if there's any instructions, but I'm also not aware of any libraries holding any Scientology books. I think people are generally aware here of what it is. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of them did have them in there, but it's by no means something you'd pick up in any normal library.
Yeah. Kelly Copter says, definitely not an Essex accent. My good close friend Yak Mayhoff says, can you please mute your phone when doing videos? I keep exiting the videos to check my emails. What are you talking about, Yak? Are you hearing any email notifications? I'm not hearing any email notifications.
My computer's on silent and I've got headphones in, so it's not me.
Thank you, Yak. Always good to see you in the chat. All right, Pete in Toronto. In a geography class decades ago, we were taught that Scandinavia is Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. And Scandinavia and Finland together were called Fennoscandia. Did I just word clear AA run? Well, you know, I think it's one of these things where I think it has more than one usage. I know that in Scientology land, Scandinavia is considered to be all 4 of those. Yeah, but thank you. I've never heard of Fennoscandia. Had you heard of that?
Nope.
And you didn't even grow up in a cult, and you haven't heard of it. Okay, Basel and Zurich. There you go. Okay, an Oregon Basel and an Oregon Zurich. That makes sense. Thank you, Case Ventura. Okay, we got some more Scandinavia lessons. Norway, Finland, Iceland, Sweden, and Denmark are Nordic countries. Only Denmark, Norway, and Sweden is Scandinavia. Okay, so they don't like Finland very much. Finland's like the redheaded stepchild. No offense to redheads.
Excuse me, Aaron. Although
Hey.
I'm going to be like you soon. I am losing it very, very quickly.
Oh, just shave it off.
I will do, and I'm going to grow the beard. We're going to look like twins.
There you go. Yeah, we will look pretty damn similar. Pi Nigrin, by the way, thank you for the super chat. Pi Nigrin. Will says, anyone know if there is one in Belfast or Dublin? There sure is.
Yeah, the Dublin is actually not a church; it's a community centre, and that opened actually quite recently. And there's a big story about that I'm going to be doing on my channel very soon, probably in the next week or 2.
Yeah. Now, I've always been under the impression, I've never done a deep dive research project into this, that the only reason they're putting on a big show of creating this Scientology community in Dublin was, I call it tax inversion. It's for the same reason that all these pharmaceutical companies are relocating their headquarters to Ireland.
Yeah.
Has to do with the corporate tax inversion. Is that kind of what you're looking into as well?
Yeah, there's something along those lines I'm looking at. There's also some interesting financials that are quite revealing. For example, Cosrecki, the UK firm I was talking about earlier, not only have loans from other firms, like for example CSI, the Church Scientology International, the Flag Service Organization, and a couple of others, actually loaned Cosrecki in the tune of sort of $100 and something million, and Cosrecki are paying it back plus interest over a certain amount of period of time. And Cosrecki also have loaned money themselves to, for example, Dublin, and I believe Munich org and a couple of other places like that. And one of the interesting things, like Flag Service Organization, Cosrecki are paying Flag to train UK staff there, and at the same time they're paying back a loan, and at the same time they are loaning them money, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense. They're paying back a loan and also receiving a loan and also paying them for training, and it's definitely a subject for more investigation.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Wendy Turner, I'm so proud of you spreading awareness. Fantastic. Pat Shore, we should send David Miscavige some SP merch. Do you have children's sizes? I love it. Simon B, I visited Philadelphia org today. Dirty and empty. Amazing. So Simon B, I mean, 1315 Ray Street is where I spent an awful lot of years working full-time for Scientology.
Don't they have a skyscraper in Philadelphia as well that's been empty?
They bought one, but they've never occupied it. They've never even started renovating it. They don't even have approved plans for it. And it just is one of those perfect prime examples of the stagnant, not declining state of Scientology. And you know, when the Philadelphia org bought that building, it was one of the first building projects where they weren't actually able to buy it all in cash. I mean, the org bought it in cash, but a group of public actually went out and put up some collateral to get a massive loan. And it must have been an unsecured loan, because it sure as hell wasn't secured against that building. The public took out a loan in their names and turned the cash over to Scientology to buy this skyscraper. That was like 15 years ago. That building has sat empty, vacant, unrenovated, deteriorating. And I think the city even sued Scientology over it, but that was a number of years ago. And I don't know what's happening with it now. They can't afford, they cannot raise enough new money to renovate the building. Now, of course, it's all a fundraising scam in the first place. Miscavige could just take the money out of reserves anytime he wants to just renovate the building, but that would defeat the point of the entire Ideal Org project, which is just to raise new dollars.
Yeah, because the org has to pay for its own renovation. It's like each org is expected to pay for itself. So if you have to borrow or take money from a higher up org, from management or whatever, then that's not how it's meant to happen. You're meant to raise the money. You're meant to have enough Scientologists in the area that they are wealthy enough that can raise money to pay for the org. But it just doesn't, there's not enough of them to do that.
That's right. Wendy Turner says, I was just in Dublin. I'm going to be in Dublin sometime soon. I'm dying to go there so much. I've never been to Dublin. Airfare, for some reason, round trip to Dublin is so cheap. I just want to do like a 3-day trip sometime. It would be a lot of fun.
Let me know. I'll come meet up with you and go for a pint of Guinness.
That'd be awesome. Jane in Scotland, see, you're all doing it wrong by going to London. Come up to Scotland, much nicer, friendlier, and say less Scientologists. I've actually been to Edinburgh before. I have. I was there for the Fringe Festival. That wasn't intentional. It just happened to be the time of year that we went. It was fantastic. People are so friendly there. So friendly.
Edinburgh's lovely. I love Scotland. It's got a special place in my heart.
Mousy. Alex, have they made a hate site about you yet?
No, they have not. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that happens at some point. But no, they haven't.
Nice. Kelly Copter. Hey, Ron, you going to come to London for a pint? Yes, of course. I mean, I've been to London as well. But yes, if I go all the way up to Dublin, might as well pop down to London for a pint as well. What's this? Case Ventura. P.S. Basil, pronounced Bozel locally? Oh my God, I've never heard anyone say that. Basel? Oh, Basel. It's got to be Basel, not Bozel, right?
I've always said Basil.
But she said, but she says locally.
Basel.
Local. You're forgiven. Cult uprising and all. Ideal opening in Basel, and maybe 150 people max. Oh, let me tell you, the 150 people that were at the Basel opening, those are people shipped in from Copenhagen, shipped in from, and it's Switzerland, right? So they're shipped in from Germany, France, Italy, the UK. That there's not even close to 150 Scientologists in Switzerland. That's for sure.
If you look at all the pictures of the org openings here in the UK, it's not so prominent that you can see it's clearly the same people, but it basically is. Like if you look at the pictures in the Birmingham Ideal org opening, it's all London staff and London families plus a few locals. If you look at the opening of the new CLO office near St Hill, it's all London staff and like London public families and obviously St Hill people. But you know, there's something like 2,000 Scientologists in the UK, and that's it. So whenever they open a new org, you are expected, or you're asked if you can, to go to the opening to make it look busy.
Yeah. I mean, I remember there was a time, even before they were doing the whole Ideal org thing, they wanted to schedule a protest in Germany. They were recruiting Scientologists from all over the United States to fly over to Germany just for a protest, just to make it seem like that's how much support there was in Germany.
A handful of people who were on staff at London Org when the Superpower building opened and the Golden Age Tech 2, handful of London people flew over to Flag just for that event.
Incredible. Beachcomber says, can you enable merch to be sent to Europe with no extra costs? This is possible on Mark's. Mark and I are using the same platform. So is Mike. So is the SP shop. I'm almost positive I set up, when you set up an item, you do have the option to set it up with delivery from the different geographical areas. I'm pretty sure I have it set up that way. So Beachcomber, if it looks like, if you try to order something and it's not set up that way, email me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com and I'll get it fixed. Someone else is correcting us here. One, Basil. It's not basil. It's Basel. It's Basel. The Finnish people. Oh, the Finnish people don't like to be called Scandinavian. That ain't no Essex accent in it, bruv.
So I could turn it on. Oi, oi, Savaloy. I could turn on the Essex accent if necessary, but it's not natural.
I love how all British people finish their sentences with in it. That wasn't very good. Now, in it. No, wait.
That's an Essex thing. Yeah.
Okay, so the Finnish people, what you're trying to tell me, PZ, is that the Finnish people are elitist and they don't like to be grouped in with the plebes in Scandinavia. Is that what we're saying here? Because that's kind of what I'm picking up. Is that what you're laying down? Okay, Basel it is. I will never make that mistake again. Ken's channel says, I will match Alex's $100. Pronounced Ken like hen with a K and channel like channel. Gotta love it.
Amazing. I believe I've not been keeping a track of the comments in the stream, but I believe we're now at 2,000, if not more than $2,000 for the Aftermath Foundation. So thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. When you want to donate, do it through the Aftermath Foundation website, theaftermathfoundation.org. There's a donate button, and that's how I will be donating and how you can too.
Fantastic. Well, everybody, it looks like we've come to the end. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thanks for everyone who watches until the very end. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, oh, yeah, deep on my love, then you could click